What is good, YouTube? Warstu here. We're going to talk about the Morbius situation and if we should be worried about the Sony Spider-Man universe they're trying to build up outside of the MCU continuity. So, yo, what is freaking good, YouTube? Warstu here. If you are new around here, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, pop culture-based content we do on the daily. If you could, comment, turn notifications on, and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Warstu if you want to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. Also, check us out on Twitter, WarstuG, because someone stole the handle at Warstu, and I still can't get it back. So let's break it down. So for the last few days, we've even covered it already, but we're covering it again in more depth. So Morbius, director, essentially ruined the whole movie in some roundabout way by explaining what universe the movie was in, also explaining if there's a Spider-Man, also talking about spoilers to do with the post-credit scene. Now, as of the time of recording this video, it is the 30th of March, which means Moon Knight has already come out. The literal post-credit scene is on the internet, the second one. Careful for spoilers. The second one starts with Morbius driving a car. Then Vulture flies. Yes, he has the suit, saying he wants to avenge or wants revenge on Spider-Man. Morbius setting up the Sinister Six. Interesting. So this scene actually plays out, and I'm obviously not going to put it in this video because it would get like a copyright claim, but that is literally the scene you see. So it's almost like they're trying to force Spider-Man into this universe, even though this is not the same universe, and the ramifications of this spell somehow pulled Michael Keaton, a Vulture, slightly different suit to what he had in the MCU in Spider-Man Homecoming, to this universe, and he's like, yeah, Spider-Man, something to do with Spider-Man, and then he's like, yeah, we're setting up a team to do good. So this is obviously a teaser for Sony's universe they're trying to build up. The Kraven the Hunter movie they're currently shooting in England, or at least they were shooting in England. I don't know if they still are. But it's the strangest post-credit scene ever, and it literally makes no sense. And what also doesn't make sense is Sony have come out and said, you're gonna find out which Spider-Man is in this universe soon. Now, after speaking to people who have watched the movie, doesn't make any difference. They still don't know which Sony Spider-Man it is. Is it Toby? Is it Andrew? Is it Warstu? Is it Tom Holland? I personally think it's going to be a brand new Spider-Man. So the first starts with the purple space time rift at the end of No Way Home as everyone gets pulled out of the MCU universe. Adrian Toome gets pulled from the MCU to whatever universe Morbius set in. Now that's being confirmed. It's the Venom universe, allegedly. He's in prison. He gets invested on because obviously he appears in the sale, and they release him because he didn't do anything in this universe. This is the strangest post-credit scene ever. I almost feel like this movie would have been, I mean, obviously I haven't seen the movie. I almost feel like this movie would have been so much better had they actually put the Michael Keaton Vulture stuff into the actual movie rather than just tagging it into a post-credit scene for the sake of it. And I really can't get my head around why they have done this. And what is even stranger is the whole concept that Sony literally leaked everything almost a week before the movie came out, with the director talking about the future, actually talking about this movie. And what's even weirder is it was tweeted out through the official verified Sony Pictures UK account. I really, in all the time I've been doing YouTube, which is like 5 years or so, I've never seen a movie be ruined before it comes out officially, and even before most screeners have happened. Morbius lives in the same universe as Venom. So did we see Venom in this movie? This is the universe we saw Venom exit at the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and return to at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. Is there a Spider-Man in this universe? Of course. Which Spider-Man exists in the Venom universe? It's my understanding the audiences will discover this soon. How soon? Are they going to introduce a brand new Spider-Man that's continuity to this universe? But then they go on and talk about the power of Morbius, obviously. One of his powers is echolocation. The people that have echolocation in past movies have been blind, but what happens if you can see? Then you have to adapt. Very peculiar way of marketing this movie. The way that you show it is with colors. The vampire is so cool. And it goes on to talk about Michael Keaton being the exact same version of Adrian Toomes from the MCU. How did he get to Venom and Morbius universe? At the end of Venom Let There Be Carnage, Spider-Man No Way Home, and in No Way Home itself, it's clear, established that it's possible for characters to transfer from one multiverse to another. No, it's not. That's not really how the spell works. That will be America Chavez's power, where she can literally go from one universe to the next. This is not really how the spell works. If I've interpreted it wrong, let me know down below. How did Adrian Toomes Vulture get his suit. And then he goes, if you look closely, you will see it's not quite the same. He's a very resourceful person. Did we watch a different movie? No, he wasn't. He literally had something that he'd make it for him in Homecoming. Last question. Is Vulture and Morbius setting up the Sinister Six? Well, he's recruiting team members at the end. So we went over the actual post-credit, and then we went over what the director actually said. And I honestly think that Sony think they've made too much money on Spider-Man No Way Home, so they don't want to make any money on this movie. All they had to do was literally put Toby or Andrew Garfield into a post-credit scene or into the movie, and everyone would have went to watch this movie. There wasn't really much they had to do. It's very weird because the post-credit scene for Spider-Man No Way Home, when it comes to the Venom symbiote being left in the MCU, kind of pointless, because if we're going to get a Venom symbiote in the MCU, people want Tom Hardy Venom versus Tom Holland Spider-Man. They don't want a different alliteration fighting. They don't want a random new Venom fighting, because the whole build-up was Venom versus Spider-Man, but Tom Hardy Venom versus Spider-Man. So how does this affect the Craven Hunter universe going forward? I don't know, because Sony have really handled this badly. To me, it's almost like the post-credit scene for Venom Let There Be Carnage and the post-credit scene that Venom's in, it's almost like Kevin just had to agree to let him do it in order to keep Spider-Man, because if you think about how logical Kevin Feige usually is, the scenes are awful, but we know that Kevin Feige has input to do with everything to do with Spider-Man nowadays because of the new contract. So I don't understand how or why they've let in this scene be so freaking bad. It is awful. It just doesn't even make sense. They've interpreted the spell differently. So is this trying to tell us... So the spell sends the villains back to the universe they're meant to come from. So is this trying to tell us that Michael Keaton Vulture is actually supposed to be from the Venom universe and not from the MCU, and somehow he got to the MCU for Homecoming randomly before time and then has to be sent back somewhere else? And then if you look at the actual reaction for this movie, it's even freaking worse, to the point where it's not even worth going over it. But I will still watch the movie. But it is shocking at how bad the reactions for Morbius have been. Like, seriously, I don't think I've ever seen reviews this bad since Rise of the Skywalker. Maybe the Star Wars, that was really bad and got destroyed. I think Morbius is going to get absolutely destroyed in reviews because it seems like there's no continuity. Now, it does appear from people that have seen the Vulture costume, if you look at it closely, that Morbius is set in the TASM universe due to Vulture's wings being the same ones as Oscorp wings. This would also mean that the Sony Spider-Man universe and Venom movies are also the TASM universe, which would also mean Andrew freaking Garfield is going to be the Spider-Man of this universe. And I'm gonna put that in title, sorry. But if you're basing it on the suit, that is true. And also, the first post-credit scene has leaked as well, where we see Michael Keaton in a cell with his white cell uniform on. Obviously, I can't put it in the video, but it is freaking insane. It really is freaking insane. Some reactions. Morbius is just as disjointed and boring as you expect it to be. Clearly butchered in the editing by a studio who had no clue what they wanted to do with it. Not that there's a good film trapped in there anyway. Morbius is unfortunately not great and definitely not as fun as Venom. Really confused at the future of Sony Spider-Verse, following the post-credit scenes and the editing. Morbius proves no matter how many famous faces or shiny visual you squeeze in, Sony will always find a way to impressively misunderstand basic storytelling. The bad plotting and messy CGI, confusion in editing, worst sound mixing results in an absolute incohesive, but the post-credit scene managed to outdo it all. So the moral of the story is, it's a bad movie, but it gets worse when you listen to or watch the post-credit scene. So like always, guys, let me know what you think about this. Do you think that it is TASM universe? And do you think that Andrew Garfield is the Spider-Man of this universe? So like always, guys, check us out on Instagram at Warstu, check us out on Twitter at WarstuG, and I will catch you in another video, guys, very soon. Catch you later.